Is it possible? Could this work even better? Let's try. Let's try it and we'll find out. Only one way to find out, right? Oh, it wants me to rotate the device. Okay, folks. Let's see. Let's see how this works. And let's see if I can even see some chats here. Super chat, okay. Live chat, all messages are visible. Good, 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 good. All right, folks, let's see. All right, I see one person. How can we have 2 thumbs up already? That's too generous, man. Okay, so as people join the chat here, what I'm doing differently is I'm using my phone. How's that for high tech? Using my phone. All right, David. David, you're hanging in there. You're a trooper. You're a trooper. I wish I could, send out more than just my gratitude. All right, I can do this. Hey, man, if this works using my phone, let's do today's show this way, and then moving in the future, we'll see what happens. Okay, and I'll do a deep dive into the Wi-Fi situation. Okay, so I'm gonna close this down. Okay. 10 people. All right, you 10 people, you made my day. Thank you. All right, so I'm going to wrap up my little chat about Wild Mountain Thyme in a second here. But the bottom line is a chord melody version. You're playing the melody of the tune. That's the beginning few notes of Wild Mountain Thyme, but you are complementing the melody with occasional harmony notes. And the harmony notes that I'm putting in there in Wild Mountain Thyme are notes that are directly from familiar chords. In fact, looking at my notes here for Wild Mountain Thyme, there really are only 3 chords that you're going to be grabbing, G, and check this out, G with your middle and ring over here, which I know not all of you love that G with a middle and ring. The G that I'm calling G type 2, where your pinky occasionally joins in on the 2nd string, 3rd fret. You'll need that for Wild Mountain Thyme and for a lot of other stuff in life. And then just regular C and regular A minor. Okay, so I just want to play through this a little bit for you to whet your appetite, in case many of you are not familiar with what a chord melody version of a song is. By the way, again, on my YouTube channel, you can find the playlist of chord melody songs, and there's a lot of good ones. I choose songs that are slow. I choose songs that are melodic and pretty and nice, and songs that don't require your fretting hand to do bizarre, twisted, weird chords, okay? By and large, the chords you're going to be asked to play are C's and E minors and A's and just regular chords. So the challenge is not so much your fretting hand doing some bizarre stuff, but your right hand really having to step up its game and strum only certain strings, despite the fact that you might be holding down a whole C chord, and I encourage you to do that, but you might only be strumming certain strings in there. So it's pushing your right hand to be accurate and sensitive. My last word on chord melody playing, and if you watch any of the videos I've ever done from the chord melody playlist on my YouTube channel, you're going to hear me say this. I'm going to say it again now. When you see a stack of numbers, and I'm going to use G as an example. When you see a stack of numbers in this specific style, you only strum those strings. So the first time you need to do this in Wild Mountain Thyme, it says to hold down a G chord, but the tab only says the first 3 fat strings. So let's talk about that for one more minute. If you're only going to strum the first fat, the 6th, 5th, and 4th, the 3 fat bass strings, well, then you don't necessarily have to hold down the skinny string on the G chord. You don't have to. I'll leave it up to you, but you don't have to, right? The other thing I want to point out, in this style specifically, there's 3 strings in the example I'm giving you here. The top note in the stack which is going to be the skinniest of the strings in the stack. Right? The top note is the priority. So even though the stack of numbers I'm looking at right here is the 6th, 5th, and the 4th, it's extremely important that the 4th string is louder than the others. Because that's where the melody note is. That's how people know it's Wild Mountain Thyme or whatever. How do you do that? You hold the pick very loosely until you get to the string that you want to be the loud one. So I'm loosely plucking the 6th string. This is slow motion. I'm loosely plucking the 6th string. I'm loosely plucking the 5th string. And I'm squeezing the pick tighter so the 4th string lead pops out. Sounds like a hassle. Number one, you can do it. Anybody can do it. Number two, it's worth it because chord melody approaches it's such a cool approach to playing the guitar. It's how you get a gig. Imagine knowing 10 or 20 tunes in this style. It's great background music, and I mean that in the best sense. If I know you think how could the term background music ever be a good term? Well, all I know is I've been in situations where the quote background music is so appropriate. It fits the room so well that I respect and admire the musician doing it because they're reading the room and they're playing the right music, the right way, the right dynamics. There's an art to that. There's an art to background music. And that's how you get a gig. You play at a coffee shop, whatever, playing, an hour of chord melodies. You can take a relatively short song and do it 6 times because it's background music. That's okay. Anyways, if you are interested in chord melody stuff, I have 31 Christmas songs in the chord melody style in this book. And sooner or later, I'm going to do a book of not exclusively Christmas songs, chord melody songs that are not necessarily Christmas songs. Because number one, I love doing them, and I've done enough at this point where I think I could justify, with just maybe a handful, a few more, I could justify a nice package of chord melody tunes. Always slowish kind of tunes, always kind of regular chords that you're familiar with. Okay, so thank you for hearing me out. Hey, I want to put some stuff in the chat, and it might be slightly harder to do it now, but I'm still going to say some hellos. I want to say hello to Marcilio. I want to say hello and good night, Marcilio. I want to say, where those chats go? Come back to chats. Oh, there we go. Sam, just arrived home. Hey, Sam, welcome. Jamie, thank you for your encouragement. Jamie, I appreciate that. Okay. I'm just scrolling. I think that these glitches have to do with my perfectly good Wi-Fi that is adequate, but not good enough for what we do here. That in the research that I've done recently, that is what that is my number one guess. And I was hoping that it was going to be, I don't know. I was hoping the problem would magically go away, and now it has not magically gone away. Funny how that works, right? Science is not magical. Science is science, and things, yeah. But hey, if this is working, awesome. The only thing is, I had some things I wanted to share, and let me see if I can still share. A filter. Do I need a filter? Oh my gosh, I don't need any filtering. I want to put something in the chat, and how do I chat, yo? What if I want to say something? Okay, I won't worry about that right now. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to go for about another 20 minutes or so. And there are a few things that I want to talk about. I'm going to make it kind of quick. Some things maybe I'll save for next time. Okay. I'm curious if any of you tried the backing track thing that I talked about last time, because it's a lot of fun. I'm just curious if any of you tried that out. I posted a backing track in the chat and also in the timestamp. of last Saturday's video. So I'm curious if any of you try that out. I want to kind of clarify something I said last time, because it's super important to me, and I used a phrase last time, and what I wanted to call it was musicianship. And I used the phrase musical ear, and it was close to what I meant. Real quick recap, I'll make this short. I said, hey, all sorts of skills are important. Down up picking is important. Having confident ring finger and pinky, that's important. Playing an F chord, that's important. All that stuff. Oh. But I said what's even more important is having a good musical ear. And I want to refine that statement. What we're talking about is musicianship. And the example I gave, which includes having a good musical ear, and to some extent includes having all those physical skills, yeah. Musicianship is knowing how to jump in the musical river. A song is happening, and you know how to jump in and take part, how to add something, how to complement something, how to not subtract from the music. Musicianship is playing the right thing at the right time. That's what I'm looking for, playing the right thing at the right time, which includes sometimes not playing anything at all, the sounds of silence. Or, you play, but then you sit back and you listen. Musicianship. So I can foresee myself talking about musicianship more and more in the future, because that's what it's all about. The example I gave is name any famous guitar player. They could show you how good they are with one finger. Not because they have a magic finger, but because their musicianship would kick in. And if you said, hey, man, let's have a jam session. If you challenge them, I don't know, this is a goofy scenario, I know that. But they would not need to do anything flashy to remind you how experienced and how talented they are. They could take one finger and play a handful of notes, and it would sound so good in the moment that you'd say, yep, that's what I want. I want to be that good. I want to be that good that with one finger playing 7 notes, and the way I have that's musicianship, and that's what I aspire to, and I encourage all of you to aspire to. So I hope I want to clarify a little bit. Last week I called it a musical ear, and that it involves that for sure. Some jam session, an experienced musician is going to use their musical ear to enable their musicianship. Okay, just want to clarify about that. I have this Steve Vai quote that's bugging me, and I don't know if I want to take time right now to get into it. Well, why not? Okay, so Steve, and I'm sorry if some of you are asking questions. I'm going to look back in a moment, but do me a favor, hold off on the questions for a moment. Okay, so some of you may be aware that Steve Vai is a talented, well-known guitar player. And some of you may have heard of social media. And stuff gets posted on social media and passed around. And at least the pages I follow, often these quotes or these interviews are passed around like, hey man, this guy got it right. Check out what he's saying, or check out what she wrote. And man, this is like words of wisdom. And for the most part, I too read those and I think, yeah, I like that. Until this one Steve Vai quote, which is making me crazy. And I realized the reason why this quote makes me crazy is how easily anybody could misinterpret this quote. Okay, so I'm going to read this and then I will tell you why it bugs me. You could probably find this on social media someplace. It's pretty heavily edited. It doesn't change what he said, and I don't think it changes the context of what he said. But anytime you can see something is very repeatedly edited, it does give you a little bit of pause. And yet, okay, so Steve Vai, here's the quote. It's going to take a minute. Okay, Steve Vai says, if you're going to take any advice from me, I would tell you to find the thing that excites you the most and go after that. whether it's just playing a Led Zeppelin song and not practicing scales, and you don't have to know music. Tell Jeff Beck to play an F sharp on the G string. He might not know what it is. Well, maybe he would know that. But, great musicians don't necessarily have to know about music. The important thing is to find what it is that excites you and disregard what anybody else is doing or saying and just go after that. That's what you're going to be most successful at also. People always say to me, well, how do I get my music into the world? How do I sell it? And the answer I give is find the thing you're natural and really good at and then exaggerate it. I never worked on my weaknesses. I only worked on my strengths. And I exaggerate them. And that's how I get the particular voice that I have on the instrument. End quote. End quote. Okay. So why do I have a problem? Why am I taking time out of my life and my live stream to quote some other dude, especially if I don't care for the quote? And it's because he's a famous dude, and people pass around this quote, and it bugs me. So why does it bug me? And by the way, I'll probably put this quote into the live stream when I timestamp it. It'll be in the description of this video. So the reason it bugs me is it can be very quickly and very easily interpreted as practice whatever you want, and whatever you do, don't worry about the boring stuff. Practice what makes you feel good, and don't get your chops together. It's also is kind of disrespectful in an indirect way towards the people who have done their freaking homework, So just to walk through this real quick, and the reason why I'm spending time on this is I encourage you guys to reach your potential on the guitar, and then maybe take that success into other parts of your life. That's what I'm going for, So he says, if you're going to take any advice from me, I would tell you to find the thing that excites you the most and go after that. Awesome. Awesome. He could have stopped there. Next sentence. Whether it's just playing a Led Zeppelin song and not practicing scales, you don't have to know music. Okay, so you see where I'm starting to get pissed off? I get working hard on a Led Zeppelin song. I get that. That's awesome. And change the name of the band. Work hard on any one particular song and just bust your butt. I'm with him. But then it says not practicing scales. Why on earth would you not practice scales? It's like not taking a vitamin. I realize some of you might not take a vitamin in the morning, but let's face it, the vitamin is right there. Just take the vitamin, man. Then he says, you don't have to know music. Now, if I were being generous, I would say what he means is you can have a lot of fun on the guitar without going to Berklee College of Music. I think that's what he means. Or if I'm being generous, that's how you can interpret that. But what it sounds like to someone who wants to read it this way is, screw the book stuff, screw what your teacher says, screw the boring stuff. You don't have to do that stuff. It's so easily misinterpreted. Then he takes it too far, man. He says, tell Jeff Beck to play an F sharp on the G string. He might not know what it is. Anytime anybody tells you what someone else doesn't know, not cool, man, not cool. Then he backtracks and says, well, maybe he would know that, but great musicians don't necessarily have to know about music. So let's use Paul McCartney as an example. Paul McCartney is outspoken about how he doesn't read music and that he never studied music. Okay, if Paul McCartney tells you that, that's a little bit different than Steve Vai telling me what Jeff Beck, the late Jeff Beck, does or doesn't know. But let's talk about the millions of musicians throughout history who did their homework, who became great musicians because they studied music. Let's not dismiss those people, okay, everybody? Let's not dismiss those to make ourselves feel better because we didn't go to a conservatory, because we haven't had 20 years of lessons. Let's make ourselves feel better in other ways, but not by dismissing all the people who got up in the morning and did their job, man. You know, they learned their craft and they studied their craft because they loved it. Because maybe they couldn't not study their craft because they were driven. Let's not dismiss those people, okay? Paul McCartney is a genius. My life, I love the Beatles so much. But, can't we all get along, without talking about who knows what and who doesn't know what? And, okay. Next sentence. The important thing is to find what it is that excites you. Okay, yeah, man, yeah. You can do that with a teacher, by the way. You can work on that with a teacher. You can work on that with a friend. There's lots of ways to do that. But yeah, I'm back. And disregard what anybody else is doing or saying and just go after that. I think what he means, again, if I'm being generous, is don't get hung up on being better than your buddy. Don't get hung up on what your cousin knows how to do that you don't quite understand. Don't get hung up on that and let that discourage you. Okay, maybe. I'm almost done, by the way. I'm almost done with my rant, He says, that's what you're going to be most successful at. Yeah, the stuff you're passionate about, that you're going to find success there. Yeah, okay. Again, the quote, people always say to me, well, how do I get my music into the world? How do I sell it? Well, hold on now. Now his audience is people who are pursuing being professional musicians. That's a little bit different. If you're pursuing being a professional musician and you're looking to make money doing this stuff, well, now he's speaking to a different audience. He says, the answer I give is find the thing you're natural and really good at and then exaggerate it. It's problematic advice, but he's speaking to a different group of people now. He's speaking to people who presumably have, number one, committed their life to their instrument, have made a certain degree of progress on their instrument, and look now to build a career on that. That's different than a lot of us, right? Now he's giving advice to people who are fighting their way into the music business. And he's saying, hey, find the thing you're natural at and really good at, and then exaggerate it. Which, have you ever heard the term exaggerate used in a positive way? I have not. So again, I'm picking on this one word, maybe it's semantics. I would not have put it that way. But he says, well, later on, he says that that's how he describes his own path is, it's just a weird way to encourage someone. Find the thing you're natural and really good at. Most of us, you start off on the guitar, you play for a month, a year. You're not naturally good at anything yet, most of us, right? You're just getting your act together, So it's a weird advice, but again, apparently now this advice now is directed towards a professional or people who are trying to be pros. Okay. He says, again, I've never worked on my weaknesses. I only worked on my strengths. It's just a weird way to encourage anyone. I never worked on my weaknesses. What? I want to be intimately acquainted with my weaknesses. I want my weaknesses to be there in the morning when I wake up, and I want to, do battle with my weaknesses. I want to, I want my weaknesses to tell me about who I am, He says, I only worked on my strengths and I exaggerate them. I guess I see what he's talking about. I guess. Then he says, last thing, he says, that's how I get the particular voice I have on the instrument. Okay, so I don't know, a while back, one of you lovely people said, how do you find your voice on your instrument? Well, apparently that's the conclusion that he's leading us to. Find your strengths and exaggerate your strengths, and that's how you find your voice. He took a weird roundabout way to get there, but okay. And again, two things, and then I'll move on. Because this is my profession, it's not necessarily his profession. His profession is to be a star, right? And to make his music and to sell his music to the world. And he's good at it. He's really good at it, Um, but this is what I do. I talk to you guys and I listen to you guys. And this is crappy advice, crappy dialogue. It's irresponsible. It's dumb, man. It's a dumb in my world. In my world. Ready for the drama? Ready for the drama? Ooh, dramatic moment. In my world, this is bad news. But you go on social media and these things pop up. And I don't know, man. Almost none of that would make it into any decent teacher's dialogue with their student. It's the kind of thing that a student would say, oh, my old teacher said this, you know? And I'd say, oh boy, you know. Okay, thank you for listening. I am going to post that quote in the description of this video in the next few days. And I encourage you to go through it yourself and just see what makes sense, see how you interpret it. And this does not, even though for the record, he's not someone that I turn to for inspiration anyways, and his music is not what motivates me as a guitar player, but that's neither here nor there. He's a talented, super talented guy who has really made an impact in the guitar world. So it's not about him. It provoked me, and I lost sleep over it. And it bugged me so much. I thought, why does this bug me so much? So it's helping me realign, recenter, reevaluate where I'm coming from and what my goals are. And hey, in light of that, I thank him. You know, the last thing I need is some dude telling me about how thick his guitar strings are, or about what amp he used on his fourth record, or, you know, when it comes down to, I would rather have someone provoke me. And hey, maybe he was trying to be provocative, maybe, because he was super successful at that. Okay, all right, I'm done. Hey, there are 25 of you, 16 thumbs up. I appreciate that. I'm gonna tap into the chat here. Candy, yours is the first thing I see. She says, can you play the G chord of the finger picking again? Yes, here's my G chord. I'm going to focus in my right hand here. Were you talking about that pattern that went 6, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 6, 2, 2. Is that the one you're talking about? Just to recap, especially for intro finger picking, your thumb is responsible for the 3 fat strings. Your ring is responsible for the first string, middle responsible for the second skinny string, index responsible for the third. You want to learn as many patterns as you can, and one of the most sort of accessible, listenable patterns is this one right here. If it feels rudimentary, oh yeah, but you can push yourself to go faster and change chords. I just changed to a C chord. Here's D. There we go. Back to G. There's always ways to make things more challenging, right? That's one of many possible finger picking patterns. You learn patterns first. You get your hands used to this. By the way, like I said, finger picking exposes any weakness, any buzzing or dead sounds in your chords. So it's a chance for you to improve your left hand chord playing. Finger picking, like any strumming style, requires you to change quickly between chords, right? So, and one more little plug. I gotta do it. This is a great source for the most common finger picking patterns available at my website. Okay, that last plug, I promise, last plug. Okay, so we have, my friends, we have about 10 minutes, maybe 10 minutes left. Acid Head said, favorite acoustic guitar brand. Well, I mean, I like Martins. There are plenty of good guitars. When I play a Taylor or a Gibson, it just doesn't sit right in my fretting hand. The Taylor and Gibson necks just don't feel right to me, and that's like an anatomical thing. That has nothing to do with their quality. Breedlove, this is a long time ago, but I played some Breedlove guitars that were sweet. Santa Cruz, I remember trying out some Santa Cruz guitars that were very cool. But in terms of inexpensive or relatively inexpensive stuff, you can't go wrong with a nice Yamaha. Yamaha makes great stuff. I definitely recommend Yamaha acoustic guitars. If you're lucky, you find an old one, an old Yamaha acoustic, maybe from the 60s or 70s. Snap it up, man. Snap it up. Even if it needs a little repair work, man, a nice old, hopefully relatively inexpensive Yamaha acoustic from back in the day. I'd love that. But in general, you can't go wrong with a Yamaha acoustic. There's a lot of brands out there that I've heard about that I have not tried. So just because I'm not mentioning your preferred brand, take it with a grain of salt. I like Martin guitars in general, but Martin, I don't know. Sometimes when I see how not just Martin, but how a lot of brands market themselves out in the commercial marketplace, I kind of groan. I think, oh, is that how, like, is that this year's marketing strategy, or is that what they think is going to sell? And hey, they know more than I do about marketing and what products sell. But there's a lot of goofy stuff out there. Martin is just one company that sometimes has goofy marketing stuff that I think, I don't know if that's the image I would want. But that's different. That's talking about the music business, and I'm going to stay in my lane, Okay, I'm scrolling a little bit. Guitar and deserts. Hello. Is it smart to loosen? Is it smart to loosen what? Finish that. Do me a favor and finish that. Finish that thought. I'm just scrolling through the chats, everybody. Before it's time to go, I want to do a quick bass thing because we talked about bass before. And someone asked a bass question before. And okay, so hey, Leslie. Leslie has an Echo 12 string made in Italy. Oh, is it spelled EKO? I think I've seen that brand, EKO, made in Italy. I thought it was, but yeah, 12 string guitar is a beautiful thing. Oh, Sam, thank you for the clarification. Yeah, not a crazy idea. If you know you're not going to play your guitar for like a long time, like, a few months, maybe some of you have a summer house or a cabin and you leave a guitar there. Yeah, not a bad idea to loosen the strings a little bit. They don't have to be floppy loose, but maybe whoop, one turn. What would that be? Like I don't know, like 180 degrees, just to give the bridge a break. All that pressure. I'm talking about acoustic guitars especially. All the pressure on the bridge, just give it a little break. Just do a little half turn each string. Not a crazy idea. If you're not going to be playing it for a while, feel free to Google it. That was the advice I was always given. Maybe I'm curious what if you did Google it, see what else people say. But Leslie, you said it is an EKO. The brand, yeah, it's funny. Guitars are produced all over the world. There's tons of brands that you may not stumble across, but they exist. They're not bad. Steven saw an old Silvertone at Goodwill for $25. Hey, $25. If it can hold the tune, if it can stay in tune, there's possibilities. There's it could live again. It turned into a slide guitar. We should talk about that someday. Turning a guitar that might seem unplayable into a slide guitar. Okay, let's talk about bass for a minute, my friends, because it's on my agenda, and I feel better if I stick with my agenda. Okay, I'm grabbing my Fender bass. Some of you may remember the history of why I own a bass. And the history is I was teaching a young guy guitar. And I was a relatively inexperienced guitar teacher. And I was running out of stuff to show him. So I bought him a bass and hired him to play in my band. Not the worst solution, right? I think he still kept doing some lessons from me. But I was feeling guilty. And so I thought, okay. So, my friends, this happens to be a made in Mexico 2000 and I think it's 2000, made in Mexico, Fender Jazz bass in Midnight Wine. Two pickups, got a volume, 2 volumes, and a tone. Pretty straightforward instrument. Okay, now I'm going to go through this kind of quickly to get right into you being a bass player. Okay, 4 fat strings, a lot fatter than your guitar strings. The skinniest string on a bass is almost certainly still fatter than your fattest string on your electric or acoustic guitar. So your fretting hand has a bit of a workout. I've seen instructional material even go as far as recommending that people use 2 fingers to press down at the same time. So instead of just doing the pinky, you could do the ring and the pinky. Hey, nothing wrong with that. But between the thickness of the 4 strings and the overall length of the neck, let's see, compared to my acoustic, how could I do this? I'll show you this side by side. Not really going to work. Oh, okay, they're both on the floor. Both of my guitars are staying up on the floor, and is that a visually helpful thing? Sort of. See my thumb here? There's where the guitar ends, the 6-string acoustic guitar, bass, a couple inches longer. I don't know if that's a helpful visual thing. Anyways, it helps to have a long left arm. Your right arm doesn't matter, but if there's any way you can get a long left arm into your life, that would be helpful. But plenty of normal sized people play the bass. Okay, so here's my sales pitch, and then I'll get into actually playing the bass. The world needs more bass players, and you have a head start because you already play the guitar. So also, it'll do wonders for your social life, because opportunities will present themselves from the minute you purchase the bass, even before you really know how to play it. Because it happened to me, my friends, it happened to me. I've played bass in a band, and I never would have been in the band if it wasn't for the fact that they knew I owned a bass. Okay, so why do you have a head start? A couple things. First of all the work your fretting hand has been doing up until this point, chords, scales, whatever you do, you've been building up the muscles and the flexibility of your fretting hand, and those same muscles and the same flexibility give you a huge head start when you pick up a bass, despite the thickness of the strings and the length of the neck. It's not like you're going from the trumpet to the bass. You're going from the 6-string guitar to the bass. So they're in the same family, right? And your muscles are well suited, to start playing the bass. Just as importantly, the string names of the bass are the same string names as your 6-string guitar, specifically the 4 fattest strings. So many of us on the guitar, one way we remember the strings, we start on the fat string, we say Eddie ate dynamite, goodbye Eddie. That's how we remember the names of the 6 strings. We start on the fat one, Eddie ate dynamite, goodbye Eddie, right? On the bass, Eddie ate dynamite, good. Okay, now you're welcome to make up your own cute little thing, E-A-D-G. Bottom line is, I'm sure some of you, maybe not all of you, but some of you know the names of the notes, say on your fat E string. Well, guess what? That means you know the names of the notes on this E string too. Same. So now let's get into actually playing the bass. The names of the notes are even more important on the bass than they are on the 6-string guitar. Many of you make a lot of progress and do a lot of stuff on your guitars without knowing any of the notes, or maybe you know how to figure out the names of the notes, but it would take you a while to figure out, the 6th fret of the G string. On the bass, it becomes a lot more important, but there's pros and cons. And so one of the cons is, yes, you really, really, really want to learn the names of the notes on the bass, one string at a time, 1 fret at a time. Once you identify that note and you grab it, life gets a lot easier, or making progress on the bass, or put it this way, I want to show you how to jump into a situation where you can be the bass player and contribute. And once you know where to put even just 1 finger on 1 note, you're ready to start contributing as a bass player. Okay, so check it out. In general, I'm going to speak very generally here. Bass players don't play chords. Those of you who are struggling with any chords, all chords, bar chords, just the F chord, whatever you did struggle with, whatever you are struggling with, no chords in the bass. Okay, you can relax. No chords in the bass. The root note of the chord is what you need. Okay, the root note of the chord is what you need. Say the band is playing a G chord. And let's say for our purposes, they're going to play that G chord for 8 slow counts. Great, great. Think of what you would do for a G chord on the 6-string guitar. I'm going to put my middle finger on the fat string, index finger on the next one. I know often I teach the ring finger on the fat one, middle finger on the next one over. Either way, whatever. Imagine playing the guitar with the 2 skinny strings missing, right? Can you see how what I'm doing right here is like I'm playing a G chord, except there's no skinny strings? Okay, that's fine. Well, guess what? Your middle finger is on the note G. So for starters, that's all you need. The band's playing the G chord. You got the note G. You just use your bare fingers, or you can use a guitar pick. And right, they're doing a G chord, you're doing a G note. Hey, you're contributing. Okay? Now, it's going to get a little monotonous if that's all you play, just the root note of the chord, but you're up and running at least, right? And you do whatever rhythm is important to fit at that moment. Okay? Let's say the band changes to an F chord. Well, hopefully you guys know, or you'll know in a minute, fat string, 1st fret. A nice low F, right? It goes back to the G, the band goes back to the G, and boom, there you are, back in the G. Okay, so playing the root note. Number one takeaway from all this bass talk, the number one takeaway is simply by playing the root note of the chord, you are in the mix, you're in the game, and you're contributing to something. And hey, you might have been in a situation where if that's all you know how to do, the band is fine with that, because maybe you're the only bass player they know. You know, not every band needs a bass player to be an amazing virtuoso, you know. Okay, so finding the root note. What if the root note may be easier to find on a different string? How about the note C? Over here. Right? Think of a C chord. A C chord, but there's no 2 skinny strings. Well, you know, look at my ring fingers. That's the note C right there. This is why playing the 6-string guitar and learning chords of 6-string guitar is like it gives you a head start on the bass. I mean, you could simply memorize that that's the note C, right? Or you could think of, oh yeah, when I play a C chord, that's what my ring and middle would be doing. My index would be over on one of the missing strings, but you know. So the band is on a C chord, you grab the note C, really with any finger. I'm going to use my middle finger. And there you are. Okay. 3rd fret on the fat string was G. 3rd fret on the next string over is C. If the song is going from a G chord to a C chord, hey, you're right there. G to C. And again, you can use bare fingers. Let your fingers do the walking. Remember that? The yellow pages? You know, index and middle, can't go wrong. Some people play with just their thumb. Everything I just did, but just their thumb. I highly encourage you to use a guitar pick, but a nice, stiff, sturdy guitar pick to deal with the fat strings. Nothing wrong playing with a guitar pick. In fact, speaking of Paul McCartney, I saw some Paul McCartney live video, and for one song, there's Paul McCartney using his bare fingers. For another song, there he's using his pick. That's all I need to see. Okay, nothing wrong with using your fingers when the time is right. Nothing wrong with using a pick when the time is right, you know. Okay, so hypothetically, within, let's say, the first 5 frets, you know the names of those notes, or you can figure them out quickly. You know, I'm sure there's a diagram where you can just download and print it out, you know. Then you're able to play the root note of whatever the band is playing. By the way, this goes for whether they're playing a major chord, minor chord, 7th chord. Just play the root note, you know, until they change the next chord. You're up and running, right? You're in the game, like I said. Pretty quickly, because you're a smart person, pretty quickly, it's going to get kind of old just playing the root note, especially if, like I said, our hypothetical situation, the band is on a G chord for 8 slow counts. 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I mean, it's okay, but, you know, Okay, so you ready? This will be my last bit of this bass lesson. Because what I'm trying to do is kind of whet your appetite and show you, number one, you can do this. Number two, people need you to do this. So some of you, even if there's one of you, I see 24 viewers. 24 viewers and 24 likes. Ooh, all is well in the universe. I used to live near a road called Fox Hill Lane. And one day I saw a fox running across Fox Hill Lane. Oh, it was a good day. It just changed my outlook temporarily. Okay, where was I? And basses don't have to be expensive. If any of you are thinking, well, wait, go to Sweetwater. They probably have a package, a bass guitar with a bass amp, a couple $100, knock yourself out. But I'm hoping that one of you, and don't forget, people are going to watch this video in the days to come as a video, not as a live stream, that increases the chances that one of you is going to do this and you're going to become a bass player, which is awesome. And you'll still play the guitar, I hope, but you may actually make a few bucks and have a lot of fun as a bass player. Okay, so ready for the last thing? Whenever you find the root note, the other note that you can also play for lots of reasons is the next string down towards the floor, the next skinnier string, 2 frets up. Sounds like Ricky, don't lose that number, right? I'm hitting the root note of our hypothetical G chord. There's the note G, fattest bass string, 3rd fret. And the next note, the other note that you're 100% allowed to add, the next string over, the A string, remember Eddie 8, dynamite good, 5th fret, 3rd fret, 5th fret on the next string. If it sounds like Ricky, don't lose that number, you're doing it right. Say the band changes to an F chord. Watch my hand. I'm just going to glide backwards. Fat string, 1st fret. The next string, 3rd fret. Hope that sound is coming through okay. By the way, now that you're getting a taste of this goes anytime you're playing the root note with your index finger. I'm doing the next string down, the A string, 3rd fret, that's note C. You can do that all day long. That's a note you can always add. You get the idea? You can always play the root note of the chord, and you can always add that other note, okay? In terms of music theory, that note is the 5th degree of the major scale. Which major scale? The major scale that shares the same name as the root note. If the root note is C, this note I'm adding on is the 5th note of a C scale. If my pointer finger's on a G, that note is the 5th note of a G major scale. So root and 5th. Oh, I have a joke for you. It's almost time to say goodnight. I'm going to say goodnight in a minute, but I'm going to leave you with your first bass joke. I have a lot of bass jokes. I'll leave it with this one, and then I will say goodnight. Hey, before I tell you the bass joke, keep you in suspense, I'm going to do my homework and figure out this Wi-Fi issue, although it works great on the phone. I can't see your chats as well, but I'll figure this out. So hopefully we'll have no more interruptions. And I want to thank you. 25 viewers, 30 likes. Woo! Thank you for your patience tonight, everybody. We will do this again next week. And thank you for being here. And now I will leave you with a bass joke. A minute ago, I mentioned that you are playing the root note and the 5th degree of the scale, right? And bass players do this a lot, because you can't go wrong. It's a cliche, it's overdone, and yet you can't go wrong playing the root and the 5th and the root and the 5th. So ready? How many bass players does it take to change a light bulb? And the answer is 1, 5, 1, 5. Get it? 1, 5. I have better bass jokes. Believe it or not, there's even better ones. No, I have better bass jokes. Okay, my friends, thank you. I will see you next Saturday to stay in touch with stuff that I post and that I send out there to the universe. Head over to Instagram or Facebook. Just do a search for Songbike, Songbike, all one word, and follow me, and you'll be up to date on all sorts of stuff. I wish you well, and I'll see you next time. Now I have to figure out what button to press now to turn this off, because this is a different system on my phone. Not that one, not that one. How about, nope, not that one. I can tell it's not that one. Ooh, I might just hit the X. Okay, I'm gonna hit the X and see what happens. Good night, everybody.